Welcome to Mega Drive Memory Lane, the series where I go back and I beat some old games that I used to play with my granddad. We never had the chance to beat these, but don't worry.
I will finish what you started.
Toy Story's had a fair few tie-in games, most of which are looked upon very fondly, but today I'm only going to be looking at the Genesis or the Mega Drive version. This game was released on the SNES and the Game Boy too. Both good versions. I'll speak about those a little later on if you're interested, so stick around for that. The Mega Drive version of this game came out in 1995, unless you're in the PAL regions like me, in which case it came out in 1996. By 1995, Sega's next console, the Saturn, was already out. Although I can't find an exact number, several sources say the game sold very well, so clearly its belated release didn't affect sales too much. Even though it is a 16-bit Mega Drive title, it could easily be mistaken for something on the Saturn. Pre-rendered 3D sprites, similar to Donkey Kong Country, first-person sections, voice lines. I'd say this thing was ahead of its time, but that's not necessarily true. It was ahead of the hardware it was stuck on, let's just say that. Without further delay, let's just jump right into the gameplay. Just a few prerequisites here. That took about 5 attempts to say that, by the way. I will be using an infinite lives code here. The game has a password system anyway. This is just to avoid me getting sent back to the menu and having to put all that in. It just saves time. It doesn't really reduce the challenge of the game. And from this episode forward, prior to the release of the video, I will stream the playthrough of the game in its entirety, right? But for the video, I'm just going to show highlights and add commentary when necessary. And since this series was always meant to just be playthroughs with my genuine reactions, this seemed like the most authentic way to go about things. Stage 1's fairly simple. It's actually pretty clever in its simple design really, as you are forced to use both of only 2 mechanics, those being jumping and whipping with your pull string. The pull string acts as an attack, either tying your enemy up or just kind of flinging them back sometimes. I have a big. There's some decent platforming here, but it's basically just a tutorial level. Excellent designs though, and I can only imagine how fantastic this must have looked back in 1995. There were games that jammed onto the Sega CD that didn't even look this good. There's story cutscenes in between levels, as you can see here. The game follows the movie's plot, for the most part anyway. It takes a few liberties here and there, but it's never to the game's detriment. If the game strays from the movie, it's only in the interest of being more creative or serving the player a more fun level. Stage 2, you've got to run around and free all the toys. RC and Muscle Man run off to the right, and you've got to pump the other dudes up. Oh, another simple stage, but with a timer this time. Slowly but surely, the game introduces more challenge. Stage 3, you've got to race Buzz to the end of the stage, but it's not really a race. Buzz just taunts you along the way. Regardless, the challenge is ramped up even more this time as we have pits to fall into and the new hook mechanic where Woody can use his pull string to swing across the screen. Next up is our first boss stage.
You don't want to be in the way when my laser goes off.
Okay, I'm just going to spam him on this one. And here's our first example of the game taking some creative liberties because Woody never had a nightmare about Buzz in the movie. Though Buzz's supposed superiority was something he was consistently worried about throughout the movie. Oh my god. Okay, right. If there's going to be any appropriate boss fight to kick things off with, this is it. I died a few times, but that's just because I'm a dumbass. Buzz literally tells you how to beat him. Just knock these little balls out of the way and rapidly whip him while ducking out of the laser's way. Damn. So we've had platforming, little bit of puzzle solving, a boss fight. What next? Well, I doubt top-down isometric RC car section was your first guess. Left and right turns you left or right, regardless of which way RC is facing. Got to make your way through this cluttered labyrinth without running out of juice. Just grab the batteries along the way, but be careful because it's very easy to just miss one. No. Oh, no. Not an issue. It's very easy to get used to, actually. So far, the game is delivering a masterful stretch of variety. Stage 6, some more standard platforming. You've got to help Rex along the stage as he repeatedly gets stuck behind certain obstacles. I like how it's the same stage as earlier, but just a little darker now. It's subtle, but a nice contrast, emphasizing the tone shift both present in the movie and the game at this point in the story. Oh, I didn't jump. Oh wait, I made it over anyway. Stage 7 is another side-scrolling stage, but control Rex and his position on the screen, as opposed to you being in control of where the screen is scrolling. Avoid obstacles and just try and get out of there. It gets pretty hectic here, but it's fun. Next up, we have another Buzz fight. This one's a little more technical. You've got to fling this mini tire over at him and catch him inside of it. No hitbox. Oh, yo, man. The tire rotating as smoothly as it does is another graphical showcase. Not even remotely impressive by today's standards, but this was crazy for the hardware it was on. Took a few attempts, but I got him in the end. This next level is awesome. Buzz and Woody are disguised as a paper cup and a burger box. Is that what that's called? Yeah, I don't know. You've got to avoid falling food items and passing legs. At first I thought the legs were a little random until I noticed the paper airplane that flies by was there to telegraph them. The stage feels like it goes on for way too long, but that's likely due to how intense it is. Surely I must be close to the end of the stage. Mate, surely I'm close to the end now. Dun, dun, dun. Seriously, avoiding things falling every 2 seconds, the legs and Buzz bumping into you, it's anxiety inducing and exciting. Another masterfully crafted level. Stage 10's theming is a little strange. I think we're inside some sort of machinery, perhaps an arcade machine or something, I don't know. The sizing and proportions are all the way off, but it's fine. This level's pretty fun with perfectly spaced checkpoints. I don't have much to say about it other than I like it because it's different. It kind of catches you off guard. It turns out past me had a lot to say. I just kind of went off on a tangent about the manual here. Got screenshots from the game. It gives you like walkthroughs for each level. Just show the one. Level 4, Sid's room. Anyway, stage 10 complete. Stage 11 is potentially the most ambitious level in the game. A full 3D section that runs pretty well. You've got to run around the insides of what is likely the claw machine and find the aliens. Bring all 10 back to home base to win. I hit it, bro. What the fuck? Next up is the level that kicked my ass the most. It's another boss fight, kinda. The claw will repeatedly try to pick Buzz up, and you have to fling the aliens at it to knock Buzz out of its grip. Buzz, what are you doing? Oh. Oh, it's so AIDS, man. No, man. Oh my god. No, I've done it again. Pulling this off can be kind of rough, and it requires some kind of nutty timing, to be honest. I fumbled this over and over. Please. We got there in the end, though. Oh, thank god, man. But somehow we still end up in Sid's room. This is where the game stops being happy fun time and tells you to man up. You've got to man up to make it through these next couple of stages. Here, hold my hand. Come with me if you want to live. This is the polar opposite of Andy's room. Dark, grungy colour palette, and this evil foreboding music. At one point in the stage, Sid sparks you up with the magnifying glass. Sooner than you know it, the level's over though. It's pretty spooky, but it's not tremendously difficult. This next stage is a little more so. It requires full mastery of the pull string. The music's cranked up. Thankfully the level isn't too long. You'll make your way to the end and grab Buzz, forcefully using his karate chop reflex to fight off the mutant toys. Another excellent nod to the movie. Please? Please? No! Stage 15 legitimately rivals that of Cuphead's most bonkers run and gun stages. I'm just gonna let past me do all the talking here. No way, bro, I can't focus on all those things at once. What is going on? Probably the most hectic level in the entire game, but undeniably one of the most fun. Easy. Stage 16 is another RC section, but from a third-person perspective now. This controls better than like Super Mario Kart. That it does. This is another level that's over before you know it, but it's fun. Stage 17 is another RC section, but top-down. In contrast, this is another one that stretches out just a little bit too long, but I adjusted to the controls fairly quickly earlier on. I've seen a few, not a lot, but a few reviews of this game complaining about the top-down controls. They're a bit archaic, but these levels would be way too easy with traditional controls. The funky control scheme makes it more interesting in my opinion. The final stage hits you with an electric bassy riff as you soar through the skies, or rather, falling with style. The final stage isn't as challenging as you may assume. The developers give you a nice, lively final level. No frustration, just bright and pleasant, followed by a lovely message from the devs. Well done. You have completed the Toy Story. Hope you enjoyed it. So, most certainly did. Traveller's Tales. Thank you very much. This game was not only crazy technically impressive, but stupid fun. Admittedly, had I not have been using an infinite lives code, I may have a more frustrated outlook here. Thankfully, though, I don't. All in all, I love this. Literally from start to finish, it never got stale because it changes so much. Each stage is different from the last, both in terms of mechanics and visuals. Plus, it represents the movie perfectly, and I love the movie, so what's not to love here? If I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel of monkeys here, the only thing I can dock points for is that the US version didn't release with a password system, whereas the worldwide version did. This isn't a bad thing for me, it just sucks to think that so many kids probably got this and kept getting the arses handed to them, getting sent back all the way to the start, ruins the game. It's fatal to a game's pacing. I'm fairly confident in giving this game the very first Sir Swish seal of approval. Sure, by today's standards, it might not be a 10 out of 10, but for the time, it absolutely was. If we're talking about the worldwide version, not having a password system in a game this challenging is backwards. But I'm going off the PAL Mega Drive version, and I say this game is brilliant. I recommend it to anyone who likes retro games. I recommend it to anyone that likes Toy Story, and if you like both, perfect. Give it a shot. You want to know about the SNES and the Game Boy versions, right? First things first, let's tackle the SNES version. Mega Drive and the SNES version are more or less identical. Seriously, same levels, same music, same everything. The SNES version has a slightly livelier colour palette, but it's not necessarily worse, it's more a matter of preference. Besides, for this game, the SNES is lacking a few tracks. It's lacking You've Got a Friend in Me. For that alone, that makes the Mega Drive version better. But the Mega Drive version has an extra level, which is objectively better, as it has more content. Other than that though, these two versions are more or less interchangeable. If you've played one, you've played the other. The Game Boy port can't exactly hold the candle to the main versions, but still, it's basically the same game, or it's trying to be. You know, more often than not, the handheld version of a game is just a completely different game. No, they really tried to downscale this game. Just take a look for yourself. It's quite a novelty, and it's missing a handful of stages, such as the ones with 3D elements, but this is as faithful as it can be, and that's that. Toy Story for the Sega Mega Drive. Thanks for watching, everyone. Stay tuned.